было 14 лет, у вас была совсем другая ситуация, и решение о переезде в Америку, оно было сложным, я думаю. Это было решение, что повлияло на это решение и что двигало?
It was a need of succeeding. As a family, we come from nothing. So one thing that I knew very well was poverty and not much education. My father had to work very hard all his life for little to nothing. And as kids, we realized very quickly that if we wanted to make anything good in our life, for ourselves and for others, we had to be very focused and we had to do something very well. So that was the biggest motivation to do that.
Вы покинули страну, выиграли чемпионат шеф-поваров, пересекли океан и оказались в новом мире. Что было вашим основным источником мотивации для дальнейшего продвижения, кроме отсутствия денег и, собственно, отсутствия вариантов решения?
It's more about loving what we do. I love what I do. I think as a man I'm very fortunate because I actually pick a profession that I really love. I never thought about any day that I go to work to be work. It's what I do. It's an honorable thing to do. It's identifying what we are, but also is honoring family traditions. You know, I'm coming from parents that they were very hard workers, and maybe they were not doing what they liked, but they did it because of their families. In my situation, by accident, I fell into a job that I really like, and at the beginning it was all about the cooking, but today is all about giving opportunity to others. That's why it's very important. That's why it's more than just succeeding. It's not money, it's not power. Okay, it's just believe that you're doing something that you're very happy doing it, and then those things will come with it. But at the beginning you have to truly be passionate about what you're doing.
После реализации проекта «Маэстро» в Вашингтоне вы переехали в Нью-Йорк. В Нью-Йорке был кризис 2008 года. Были большие изменения. Чему научила эта история и что дало пушинг? И очень важно для меня еще знать Нью-Йорк-Вашингтон, связь городов. Все-таки сейчас в Вашингтоне. Нью-Йорк — центр города. Вот центр денег. Да. Все-таки сейчас Вашингтон. Почему?
At the time when I was a maestro, I decided to go to New York because I was surrounded after 7 years by a group of very talented individuals. And something that maybe is not many people know, many people came with me to New York. Okay, we were looking in New York for an opportunity to all of them to be better, to go up and be more successful, not only for me. Okay. And the one restaurant that I did in New York was going to be only the beginning of many other restaurants. That was the main reason why I decided to go to New York. It was not because of ego or because of the love for New York, which I do love. I really love New York. Okay. Unfortunately, with the crisis, that didn't happen. A lot of the things that we were working on, other restaurants and future projects, they didn't take place. It was a horrible crisis, probably some of the one that we will remember for decades to come. And a lot of things changed in the economy of the US, and it will never be back to be the same. We got impacted by that crisis horribly. Perhaps the worst of our times defined the best of our times. We lost everything. We had nothing. I lost years of career. I tried to stay in New York because I had a family there, and I didn't want to ask my wife, my children, to go back somewhere else again. And I felt responsibility as a father more than as the things that I love to do, which is do restaurants and cooking. I guess in every one career there has to be a failure. It's perhaps the best thing that could happen to everyone that tries to be successful every day. I think after a failure, you will truly define or realize personally the size of your capability. But I think everyone needs to be into that path. Small failure, big failure, it doesn't really matter. It's always, as they say, it's the way you go back up again that will define you.
Среди рестораторов часто существует мнение, что локация определяет 50% успеха. Да? Вы зашли в локацию, которая была пустая 2 года. Согласны ли вы с этим тезисом или вы опровергли его? Как вы относитесь к этому тезису?
I think location is very important. You know, we can't say no to that. It's very, very important. I think the passion that you put into whatever the location may be, but with that, the understanding of what your customer wants in that location. What I'm trying to say is that if you don't have the right location, but you are very seriously considering the weaknesses and the strength of the locations, what the customers on that area will like to see and what they will not like to see, you have a good chance. Above this, it's very important that no matter who comes to the door, no matter how much they spend, no matter where they come from, that they get treated in a way they feel special. Because we all have restaurant experience. We can all go tonight to Washington and eat in 10 restaurants in one night. Okay, I don't speak for everyone, but I will only remember the one place that they made me feel special, that they have treated my presence as a guest as a gift, and they do it in a very honorable way. So giving someone that experience is more important than everything else that the restaurant should do, because the restaurant should have good food. Yes, of course, that's what we're doing. Should have good service, but of course, that's what the restaurant should be doing. But making people feel special, perhaps, is the best tool to fight any locations that are not ideal. Okay.
Вы каждый день меняете меню. Вы очень чувствительны к потребителю, да? Многие рестораны меняют меню раз в сезон. Как вам это удается? Как быть таким sensitive, как вот здесь?
I grew up with a culture that we have to, look at food and take a responsibility for it, okay? Because it's expensive. And sometimes I used to joke with my chefs. I say, I go and look at our refrigerator and the food talks to me, okay? And they tell me what they would like to become, or where they can help us in some opportunity. Inspirations is everywhere around us. Every dish that we do could be a little bit better tomorrow, okay? There is a risk on changing the menu every day. The risk is maybe, it's not as better that it used to be yesterday. It could be, we do it for the first time, it's not as good. We need more practice and all that. But I think inevitably, we also want to give something to our customers that is not the same all the time, okay? We all can go back to a restaurant because we remember one dish, okay? And that dish, by the way, should be there. But everything else could be something new to try. Otherwise, the restaurant, they become static. And the work of young chefs become also flat. There is no inspiration. They are becoming almost like mechanics, they're doing the same thing over and over and over. With all the respect for mechanic people, they need to have something new to learn every day. We need to do something more positive and better every day. We need to improve and evolve every day. So with that, we have to change the menu or part of the menu every day. Also in America, we have maybe product coming to us in certain days, but not others. Okay, and they may travel from very far away, from Europe, from the West Coast, from South America, etc. And they are very pristine and they are beautiful, but they must be used on the day that you have those products. And that's one of the things that is fun about doing those things. Eventually, this chaos of organizing menu every day becomes very normal for everybody, because things are coming and going. And as long as the team works together for a period of time, they know that those things are changing and why they're changing. We also have to change because of seasonality, Right now, we're supposed to be eating strawberry, but we're not going to eat strawberry in December, okay? So there is a series of reasons. There is a creativity, okay? There is the need for creativity. There is the need to inspire chefs every day to learn something new. And then there is the product that talks to me, okay? We have to change. We have to do something else.
Правильно ли я понимаю, что этим вы создаете эмоцию для того, чтобы люди могли ходить к вам каждый день и каждый раз пробовать что-то новое?
A good way for chef to talk to his guests is through food, okay? And we're not there to explain every dish, okay? But for the customers that they are coming with the travel in our mind, okay? It's a very good way to communicate with guests. So let's just say that I change my conversation or I talk more every day, you know, into what I try to create every day. Most of my inspirations, they are a place where I come from. But also I'm getting inspired by every other cook that I work with. Today I work with maybe 15, 20 different nationality countries of chefs. And they all have something that I can learn from as much as they learn something from me. So we're creating this creative group where everybody is entitled and feel proud of contributing to something to that. And the guest has, by all means, different emotions all the time.
Какие KPI вы используете для оценки эффективности и успешности заведения, когда вы работаете с рестораном?
Above all, it's quality. Quality is very important. We have to be financially successful, yes. We have to be successful in the way we are, coaching our team to be successful, yes. But financials are not the only motivations, okay. Obviously, we do need finance, okay. We do need to know our numbers. We do need to know what we're doing right, what we do wrong, okay. But not every decision can be based into numbers. Because if we're only thinking of numbers, we can maybe find ourselves have lost our identity, okay? As restaurants, I do restaurants that I would like to go to, okay? I don't lie. I don't create things that are not what I know. I do know what I know. I don't know what I don't know, and if I don't know, I'm trying to learn. But having a brand that is associated with luxury, inevitably, you always have to try to make decisions of what your customer expectations are. Okay. Sometimes our customers they don't have a problem with how much the cost of their meals is. They're sensitive about it, but what they want is a sense of value. Okay. The higher is the dollar amount that we're charging to our guests, the higher is their expectations. And if we meet those expectations, then the price is fine. But when we don't meet those expectations, then the price is not fine, okay? And the trick or the secret, I guess, and I'm not saying anything new, is to exceed those expectations, to do more of what is expected, knowing that they're expecting a lot because it's a luxury brand,
Вы часто говорите о группе инвесторов, которые в своих интервью, о группе инвесторов, которые вас поддерживают. Я бы хотел понимать, как вы делаете кейс для инвесторов, как вы делаете им предложение, да, и участвуют ли инвесторы в обсуждении конкретного проекта, в решении зайти, не зайти, делать, не делать, креатура помещения, ресторана, кухня, вот все, что касается идей.
So, our idea of investors started in 2009 when, New York had a horrible and the United States had a horrible financial crisis. I had customers that they were coming to our restaurants when I was working in Maestro in Washington, D.C. My business partners had friends that they also liked good food and good wine and they liked restaurants. They were all able in such a horrible time to give us some money to do our first restaurants. And our first restaurant, we had a very small amount of money to do that. My first priority with investors to win their trust is to give the money back. That's very important. I will sacrifice my salary. I will sacrifice the money that I can earn because first I will give back the money to my investors. Why that is so important is because if there is a growth for the business and if there is other opportunity, the original investors will have the trust on me to have given them the money back. So the next time that we have to invest or they have to invest into something else, they will do with a smile because they know it's a good investment. Okay. In the restaurant business, sometimes finding the margin to give back the money to investors is very hard because we have so many variables. Okay. There is crisis economy. Restaurants are not busy anymore. Okay. It's too hot outside, people don't go out. It's snow, the people don't go out. In Washington, maybe the Congress doesn't come to Washington for a month and there is less people coming to our restaurants. So it's not always a streamline of revenue that is always the same. It does a lot of this. Therefore, we have to be very disciplined to make sure that we are stay profitable. But our profits, they must go first to investors. And we take something for our work. But it's very important to me to give the money back as fast as possible. That's the way we treat investors. Investors, they don't necessarily have a say in how our restaurants are operating. They don't have, they can suggest and we always listen, okay? They can certainly give us feedback of what they would like to see and we always listen as well. But because we win that trust, and because they see the restaurant successful, and because we give them the money back, most of the time they are very happy like that. And we have, I think, the best investors because they also come into our restaurants. They also are big ambassadors of our restaurants. They talk to their friends. They are telling, I'm an investor in Fabio's restaurants. And they bring in that culture of brand ambassador everywhere. Not only in the country, but also outside the country. So that's very, very important.
Правильно ли я понимаю, что доходность для инвесторов не является основным приоритетом, а для вас является основным приоритетом возврат инвестиций, а потом начинается выполнение договоренностей по поводу деления прибыли?
It is a share of revenue. Every restaurant needs to pay bills, needs to pay the staff, needs to pay for food, needs to pay for wine, needs to pay for rent, needs to pay for utilities, okay? After we pay all of this, there is profits. So large part of those profits, they're going to investors first because they are giving us the money to do this, okay? When we give them all the money back, all of them, then we keep them with different percentage of profit share for the remainder of the life of the restaurant. Every one of our restaurants has a lease in anywhere between 10 to 15 years, okay? And we can renew lease after that. The reason why maybe our investors, they don't need the money back right away, but I take that as a self-discipline. To me, it's very important as a discipline to give the money back as fast as possible because it's a trust. Without their money, we will not be able to build our dreams. So it's important that we are always reminded where the dreams are coming from and why they were possible, you know.
Италия прекрасная страна. Не было ли у вас идеи вернуться в Италию, делать бизнес в Италии? И какой сейчас у вас connection с Италией? Насколько вы часто там бываете? Вот итальянские корни, что это значит для вас?
Italy is a source of inspirations of everything I do. And with that, I must say that Spanish is also the same because my wife, she's from Spain and we've been together for more than 20 years. I do not go back to Italy often enough. You know, our business keeps me here for all the reasons you can imagine. Okay, we have new restaurants. We have to make sure that existing restaurants are doing very well. So there is a lot of time that I need to spend into the US to do this. My connection to Italy, I still have people that I learn from, that I recently visit actually. My teachers, my mentors at schools, and when I start into the business for the first years of my career, they're still there and they're wonderful people. Okay, and it's always very nice to see them to now after 20, 30 years of my career and their career as well. I would love to do a restaurant in Italy. Maybe one day I'll be able to do a restaurant in Italy. I think it would be nice to have a Fiola somewhere in Italy. That would be a dream that maybe one day we'll be able to fulfill. Yes.
Какой самый большой риск, который вы брали в своей жизни на себя?
Is not taking a risk.
Trust me. Какой бы совет вы себе дали сейчас 18 лет и 25?
I will say that perhaps I should have, studied more. I went directly into the work, okay, immediately. But it was necessary for me to work right away. I was independent at age 14. I didn't ask my father for money as soon as I was 14. I was very fortunate to have a wonderful wife that had the opportunity to study a lot more than me. But I found on my 20s, 24, 25, 26, 27, that I didn't know much about things that I would have loved to know. I had to learn it on my own when I could have any time. When I was 20, I didn't speak a word of English, and I didn't speak a word of Spanish, and I was working in the United States. I had to self-learn as I was doing my own business, as I was working for other people. So perhaps I would tell myself when I was 20 or 18 that I should have give myself more time before I went into the work or into business and finish studies and do other things. I don't regret what I've done, but if there is one thing I hoped I would have done differently, it'd probably be that one.
Вы говорили много раз, что меня пугали много раз и мне угрожали много раз, но вы ничего не боитесь. Что помогло вам не бояться и какого рода угрозы вы чувствовали? Почему это было?
There's always a degree of be scared in anything that we do. There's always a fear that things could not work. But as you know, fear is an excellent motivator. Because if you overcome fear, or you learn how to live with fear, perhaps you reach the dreams that you want. I think I see scare or being preoccupied or worried about existing business or new ventures or new project as part of the math, if that makes any sense, of what we need to do. I think over time the experience comes to accept a level of fear that you're comfortable with. And then assuming that there is such a thing, because fear is a pretty scary thing. But if you accept that level of fear that you're comfortable with, then you can do and use fear to achieve what you want to achieve.
Какой был самый сложный момент в жизни на вашей памяти? И какое самое сложное решение, которое приходилось принимать?
I guess perhaps in 2011, when I opened Fiola, we came from a period where I had to leave New York. My wife and kids, they relocated here in Washington, D.C., even before I finished my job in New York. And we started with almost nothing. And fear back then was very big because we took a space that nobody wanted. We took a location that was closed for 2 years. Many other restaurant people didn't want to have this restaurant because it was supposed to be failing. And I also looked at my family living, okay, but below means. Okay, we were only 2 rooms and we only had very little to get by, and we had a lot of debts to pay back, personal debts. Okay, that was a very difficult situation. However, because of that, it inflicted the discipline to focus on the work that needed to be done, and to don't look back and stick to what you need to do. Doesn't matter how difficult it could be. Doesn't matter how complicated it could be. Even if it's impossible or if it looks like impossible, keep going and keep doing it. That was perhaps the most difficult period that I remember.
Какая для вас является самая существенная награда в вашей работе? Что делает вас счастливым на работе?
is certainly the creative process, is the creation of a new restaurant, because we go through every detail. Okay, the way it looks, the way it designed, what type of chairs we use, what type of tables we use, what type of plates we use, what type of food we're going to cook, what type of uniform we're going to put people on, what type of music people will hear, what type of light, and all of that. The creative process is perhaps the most exciting part. As much as that is when you see all of this coming together, okay, and it always happens on the last 3 or 4 days before the restaurant opened the door. You see 1 year worth of thinking, worth of designing, worth of talking, worth of being on meetings and testing and trying and searching and don't sleeping at night and trying to figure out what it's going to look like and what it's going to feel like. That comes together in 2 or 3 days. Then after that, the most exciting part is work with everyone to make what you now have work. Okay, and how the people react when they're coming for the first time to see the new restaurant to the door, and how the expression of the face is, how the expression of the face is when they start to eat the food, and how we train our staff to make sure that they feel very important. That's the favorite part.
Какая самая главная вершина, которая у вас в голове сейчас, которую вы хотите покорить?
What I would like is that our brand of restaurant gets recognized everywhere in the United States, but also in the world. I don't believe on opening a lot of restaurants. Yes, we did open a few, okay? I believed when we opened restaurants because it feels right, and because it's the right opportunity, and because it's the right time, and because we don't jeopardize quality. Quality is very important, very, very important. Today, world of restaurant is very competitive, okay? There's a lot of restaurants. And what I always say, that someone else out there is willing to cook one dish a little bit better, to smile a little bit harder, to serve a little bit faster, okay? So we have to be always be very careful with that. I don't have a number of how many restaurants I would like to open. I do know, however, that I want to create an environment that I can look back in 10 years from now, 20 years from now, and I see people that have worked with us in very good positions, and they have done very well for their families, and they've done very well for the surrounding and everybody else.
Вы выглядите как тоталитарный альфа-доминирующий мужчина. Обычно такие люди подавляют все вокруг себя. Если ваш сын не захочет на определенном этапе быть вашим правопреемником, что вы будете делать и сможете ли вы принять его выбор?
I can only do what I see my father doing with me. Okay. He let me do what I wanted to do. When I told him I was 14 and I say, Father, I will be a chef one day. I'm going to go to culinary school. I'm going to go to help you and make my own money and work and, clean parking lot around the restaurants, and help inside the kitchens when I can at 14. He told me, yes, go. You can do that. You should do that. He didn't try to tell me that I should be a lawyer or a doctor or things of this nature. That doesn't mean he would have not been happy if I was a lawyer or a doctor, but he let me my space to do what I wanted to do. And he was always supportive along the way. I will do the same with my son. I think he's more fortunate than I was to grow up into an environment where he has a lot more tools given to him to be successful. Certainly a better education than I had. Okay, my education has one big word attached. It's called the school of poverty. Okay, it's perhaps sometimes the best school. I want to make sure that he has the things that I didn't have. When I talked before about the education that I couldn't afford, is the education that I give to him right now with the work that I do. If one day he wants to be my successor, that's fine. But he can be doing that, or he can be doing something else and be his own man and build his own success, and I'll be perfectly fine.
Мой сын, я стараюсь поддерживать, потому что это для меня сложное решение, потому что я понимаю, что идя в гейминг, он будет иметь большие шансы иметь плохое здоровье. И для меня сейчас основная проблема, как перенастроить мой мозг так, чтобы поддерживать его в любом случае и помочь ему сделать хороший старт. Какая была мечта в детстве и какая есть сейчас?
The dream on a childhood, perhaps because I always see my father working for others, I always thought to myself, I hope one day I can work for myself, okay? And I always hoped during that time that my father got to see this, and he got to see some of it, and then unfortunately he passed away. That was my dream. When I was 14, it was the legal age in Italy to go to work. So my father bought me one scooter, and it was same age that I was. The scooter was 14 years old too. Okay, so yes,
Only car.
yes, and I went to work, and I took a work of cleaning parking lot outside the restaurant because I thought I'm going to end up to be a chef, so at least I start from the outside the restaurant, okay? And I clean every morning a very big parking lot, okay? And then I clean every morning a very big beach in front of the sea where the restaurant was located. And perhaps that was the best summer of my life because I got the education from the most humble job to do and the jobs that maybe not everyone wants to do, okay? At the end of that summer, I bought a new scooter for me, but I kept the one of my father. And perhaps was my favorite, but mine was new. Okay.
А не думаете ли вы, как одном из возможных способов развития, это франчайзинг?
It's possible. Not with every restaurant we have, but one that we have, it's possible with Sfoglina, because it's a concept that it's easier to reproduce, okay? A restaurant like Fiola with a Michelin star, Fiola Mare, fine dining, Del Mar, Spanish fine dining, it's very complicated, you know. It's not impossible, it's possible. Obviously those restaurants, they exist, but it's not easy to repeat all the time. There are very unique opportunities. So perhaps Sfoglina could be a franchise. The only thing about franchise is setting up systems that are controlling the quality. That to me is very important. You know, the way we put down a fork, the way we cook the pasta, what size plate we're using, how many burners we have, how many people one server can serve. Everything has to be divided into small pieces, and there has to be a rule for everything. Because with franchise, you may have a quick expansion, okay? But you may also, if you don't have good system, destroy the brand and the name, you know.
Какие города за пределами Америки для развития являются для вас наиболее интересными?
The cities that are more appealing to me in Europe is Barcelona, London, Milan, Rome, Venice. In Asia, perhaps Tokyo, Hong Kong. In South America, it's capital city of South America. In the US, Miami, San Francisco, LA. Those are mostly the cities that I'm more interested in.
Почему вы не сказали Москва?
I was in Moscow, 1995. Okay.
It is different. Moscow.
It's very different today. I haven't been. I do love Moscow. I really do. And I was there a very short amount of time.
What about Kyiv?
Yes.
You have been? No. Have you been?
Kiev, Sarajevo, and then down more down on the coastline, Dubrovnik, Makarska. Those are places that I know a little bit more. Yes.
Есть ли у вас любимая фраза в жизни, какая она?
One for every moment. Depends what is useful in that moment, you know. I think one that I really like, and it's maybe a cliche because I think a lot of people use it, but a lot of people use it but don't leave it to the fullest of what the phrase stands for. It's never, never, never give up. Never.
Если у вас выдается семейный вечер и вы не идете в ваш ресторан, в какой ресторан вы идете и почему вы делаете такой выбор?
When I go to restaurants, I try to forget that I have restaurants. I try to think as a consumer, as a guy that go and try a restaurant and has nothing to do with restaurants. He doesn't know anything about restaurants. He's just a customer, a real customer. Only feeling. I really force myself to think that way. I think one part of the success is for every restaurant decision we take, we have to use 50% of our restaurant brain and 50% of our customer brain. So when I go out, I don't necessarily have a favorite destinations. Perhaps our restaurants that I go more often than others. We don't go out as a family a lot because my kids are busy at school. We are busy running restaurants and all that. But when we do that, I try to, first of all, enjoy my time. Don't think that, is this good or is this okay? Or I try solely to be a good customer, okay? And to think as a customer if I'm having a good experience on this restaurant or not. Because sometimes that is a big eye-opener into how we operate the restaurant and what's important for the customers.
Бывает ли такое, что вы делаете замечания в чужих ресторанах и что нужно сделать, чтобы вывести вас на какое-то недовольство, какую-то отрицательную эмоцию, что вы будете говорить о том, что что-то не то?
One part of going to other restaurants is certainly learning. That's for sure. Because remember, before I mentioned, someone is going to cook a little bit better, someone is going to serve a little bit better. So when I go as a customer, I also feel what other restaurants are doing. And perhaps I take some of that experience with me. And I go back to our restaurants and I start to look and I say, are we doing right when it comes to this detail, or when it comes to this process? Are we doing it correctly? Just like food and menu change every day, the way we do things needs to evolve all the time. So it's important to experience restaurants, and it's important to experience other people's restaurants and our restaurants as well. Because when I work in the restaurant from the kitchen or from the front or from the financial or from the overall idea and all that, the only way that I see if this all the things that we thought that were right, they are actually right, is that if I sit down in my own restaurant and I become a customer. And I experience as a customer.
Какая книга изменила вашу жизнь, есть ли такая книга, и сколько вы сейчас тратите время на чтение?
One book in particular, I don't quite remember. One book that really defined that. I tend always to read a lot of books from people that have become successful, but in different fields. And more often, I try to take books that have nothing to do with restaurant business. Okay, so that to me is very important. That I try to compare our restaurant business to other type of businesses and how they became successful, or how they were original, and what was the original vision. I always try to educate myself because remember, I didn't go to school to be a businessman. Okay. I didn't go to school to know how to set up corporations or things of this nature. So I need to do still today a lot of self-education to learn how that is happening.
Фабио, вы итальянец. Смотрите ли вы футбол, за какую команду вы болеете?
I hope you're not going to be disappointed with me, but I'm probably a very rare type of Italian that doesn't follow football. Okay.
Бегаете ли вы, и как часто вы делаете это, и как много пробегаете?
Normally, I don't run a lot or I don't do much jogging, but I have a trainer to do all of my morning gym, and I do 4 times a week, sometimes 5 times a week. We always try to finish the workout with at least 10 minutes of cardio, which involves running and jogging and all of that.
What about outside of the fitness?
Not much outside. No, I don't go much outside just to run. with this.
Если бы была возможность задать вопрос любому человеку, который когда-либо жил на планете, кто бы это был и что бы вы у него спросили?
I would like to ask one person, my father, what he would have loved to do. If he wasn't a truck driver, if he wasn't a carpenter, if he wasn't an electrician, if he wasn't a chef, if he wasn't a builder, what he truly would have loved to do. Because my original mentor has always been my father. And I saw him doing so many different things and be good at many different things. Perhaps because for his upbringing in Italy, a young man needed to know how to do most of those things without getting help all the time. If it's broken, my father fixed it. We didn't call anybody, okay? And the way he fixed it is the way he fixed it, but he knew how to fix it, things. So I was always curious to understand somehow his motivations, and if he ever fulfilled his dream, which one were those dreams? So that perhaps is a question we can't ask anymore because he's not around. But since you asked me if I could ask one question, that would be my question and that would be the person.
Вы часто даете интервью и отвечаете на множество вопросов, но, может быть, есть вопрос, который вам никогда не задавали, и вы хотели бы на него ответить?
I never had a question that I don't like to answer. That defeat the purpose of the interview. Perhaps something very personal that I don't like to answer is when they ask me about my mother. And it's a very unfortunate story, which is something that I don't like to talk about. But everything else is a good question.
Вы часто в своих ответах, в разговорах говорите о жене, о ее корнях, о том, что она вас вдохновляет. Как вы считаете, что важно, что самое важное в женщине, чтобы она была таким источником вдохновения, каким является для вас ваша жена?
The relationship with my wife is very important. My wife is my friend. My wife sometimes tells me the things that I don't want to hear, okay? Most of the times is the best advisor. And also a lot of the things that I'm able to do today, knowing that I didn't have a good education, it was because I was exposed to the education of my wife. So it is true that a good wife makes for a better man and a better husband, okay? This is very important. I'm also very lucky because my wife, she's an integrated part of our business. And she has her shared vision of the business itself. Perhaps it's not for her to be on operations every day, but she can make some decision with me that they are very important for the business itself. And I think any young businessman that is fortunate to have a wife that comprehends the type of business that her husband does, it's perhaps very fortunate for him to have that, because it's like having a right hand, and it's someone that is a complement of you because he's your wife, okay? So I trust and value above the relationship of a husband and wife only, a lot more the relationship that I have with my wife.
Сколько лет вы хотите прожить и как вы себе представляете свое будущее через 20 лет, через 30 лет?
I don't know how many years I plan to live. That's not for me to decide. You know. Hopefully, I mean, hopefully I make to 90 or 100. I don't know.
100. I
Yeah,
understand.
100. It's okay. It's
Not
okay.
so-
It's
not
okay.
much.
You know, this. I think our generation maybe lives a little bit longer. I don't know, but it depends also what type of life we lived. You know, and how much stress we went through and how much we worked. I do believe that we should always live the life that we have to the fullest, you know, where, you know, in any conditions, because we never know when it's going to end. How long I will be doing this? I will be doing this as long as I can. Maybe Mother Nature will tell me that I cannot do it anymore. Maybe I cannot see anymore, or maybe I will start to lose even more air than I lost, or you know, maybe I will not be able to walk, and perhaps I need to slow down. But I truly love what I do, so I don't think that I will be a time where I will maybe end up to do less, for sure. as I'm getting older, but I don't think I will ever completely retire. You know.
Есть ли что-то, на что у вас сейчас не всегда хватает времени, и что бы вам хотелось делать больше в будущем, в реальной жизни?
Within our business, the activity that I would like, in general, for personal life, there is a long list of activity that I would like to do. You know, as when I was very young and I wanted to decide what to do, whether I was going to be a chef, the other things that I wanted to decide if it was not going to be a chef, I wanted to learn how to fly and how to fly a jet and be a pilot. So I didn't do that, and every day that I think about it, I still want to have one chance to perhaps experience some of that, okay? Maybe a small plane, you know, okay? Maybe not a big jet, exactly. I never played soccer or football, you know, because I just don't know why I didn't, okay? I didn't. So perhaps I should learn how to do it, that I can play with my son that now plays very well, and I don't, okay? I would like to launch myself with a parachute from an airplane because I thought that is something that I want to really do. I would like to race a car at a maximum speed. Perhaps those are small dreams of a young man, but because when I was younger I didn't do it, they're still dreams that I have because I haven't done it.
Italy or United States?
Both.
Family or work?
Both.
True or compromise?
True.
Speed or quality?
Quality.
Aston Martin or Rolls-Royce?
Both. Can't disappoint England.
Thank you very much for your time, for your emotional, your eyes, because it is very important. I feel to you. I'm very, very lucky for I'm here, for I'm Washington, for in your restaurant. Amazing place, amazing in every square centimeters. I understand what does it mean for you quality. Quality it is piece of everything, or toilet, or light, or everything. Fantastic place. I would like to say to you, I really want for all your project will be successful, for your restaurant always to be full with people with happy eyes, with happy emotional. It is very important for you. I know. You don't say when I ask you about your dream. You say about process. I understand you because every man, constructor, builder, it is very important. But result it is emotional in the exit.
Yes.
And repeat every day and ask you what is new, what is your idea. Fantastic place. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ребята, мы записали фантастический материал с Фабио. Фабио Привер, человек такой self-made. Это человек, который приехал иммигрантом с чужой страны, без языка, сделал фантастический бизнес, создал красивые места, доходные, интересные, вкусные, качественные. Это ответ на ваш вопрос, как можно начать бизнес без денег. Это ответ на ваш вопрос, как надо быть, если у вас нет ничего и надо начинать с нуля. Я попытался в этом интервью быть максимально полезным в ответах на эти вопросы. Как делать, не имея ничего? Как искать инвестиции? Какими принципами руководствоваться в бизнесе для того, чтобы быть успешными? Успешным и вам верили, и продолжали верить. Оставайтесь с нами, подписывайтесь на канал, ставьте вот так. И пишите комментарии, пишите вопросы. Я попрошу Фабио, он ответит. Поехали.